In today's video, we're talking about something that many immigrants had almost given up hope on: a real, tangible win that arrived during the Christmas season, when most people expected nothing but silence, delays, and closed government offices. Instead, what we're seeing right now is one of the most unexpected shifts in U.S. immigration processing in years, and it's already changing lives across the country. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation. This is not wishful thinking. Welcome back to American Visa Update, the channel dedicated to giving you clear, honest, real-time information about U.S. visas, green cards, USCIS policy shifts, and immigration developments that directly affect your life. If your future in the United States depends on immigration decisions, you need to watch this entire video, because what's happening right now could affect you more than you realize. For a long time, immigrants were told to accept delays as normal, to accept silence as part of the process, to accept uncertainty as the price of living in America. People waited months just to receive receipts, years for interviews, endless extensions for work permits. Families lived in limbo, afraid to travel, afraid to plan, afraid to hope. But something changed. As the year came to a close, USCIS faced intense pressure. Backlogs reached record highs. Processing times became politically embarrassing. Complaints from lawmakers, employers, and advocacy groups increased. And the agency reached a point where doing nothing was no longer an option. During the Christmas period, USCIS began pushing cases through at a pace we haven't seen in years. Files that had been untouched suddenly moved. Applicants who had stopped checking their accounts began receiving emails. Notices that people assumed would never come started arriving. Employment authorization is one of the clearest examples. For immigrants, a work permit isn't just a document. It's the ability to survive. It's rent, food, healthcare, and dignity. Over the past 2 years, delays in EAD processing destroyed stability for countless families. People lost jobs not because they weren't eligible to work, but because the system failed to issue documents on time. This Christmas, USCIS began correcting that damage. Renewals are being approved faster. Automatic extensions are being honored more consistently. Biometrics reuse has increased. Officers are clearing pending work permits instead of letting them expire into chaos. Green card processing, especially family-based green cards, has seen a noticeable shift. Immediate relatives of U.S. citizens are receiving approvals at a faster rate. Long-delayed adjustment of status cases are finally being reviewed. Interview waivers are being used more aggressively when eligibility is clear. This matters because interviews are one of the biggest bottlenecks in the system. When USCIS waives unnecessary interviews, cases move faster, officers work more efficiently, and families get answers sooner. For many immigrants, skipping an interview doesn't just save time, it reduces fear. Interviews can be traumatic. They reopen personal history. They carry enormous emotional weight. Removing unnecessary interviews allows USCIS to focus on cases that truly require scrutiny. Another major development involves travel. For years, immigrants, even green card holders, were terrified of leaving the United States. One wrong question at the airport. One misunderstanding. One officer's discretion. Entire lives felt like they could collapse at the border. During this Christmas period, internal guidance and enforcement consistency improved. Officers are being directed to rely more on documentation and eligibility rather than suspicion when travelers meet legal requirements. This doesn't eliminate risk, but it reduces unpredictability, and that alone is a huge change. Requests for evidence are also slowing. Earlier in the year, USCIS issued our fees at alarming rates, often asking for documents already submitted. This created delays, confusion, and unnecessary anxiety. Now, officers appear to be approving cases where eligibility is clear instead of delaying decisions with extra paperwork. This is a quiet but powerful improvement that saves time for USCIS and stress for applicants. Digital processing has also matured. Notices are arriving faster. Online accounts are updating more reliably. Files are moving electronically between offices instead of being physically shipped and lost. Biometrics reuse is increasing. All of this adds up to faster outcomes, but it also means applicants must be more alert than ever. When USCIS moves faster, mistakes hurt faster. This is not the time to be passive. This is the time to be prepared. Immigration policy is fragile. It shifts with politics, elections, court rulings, and public opinion. What feels like a breakthrough today could slow tomorrow. That's why immigrants who benefit most are the ones who act now, not later. Check your USCIS account. Confirm your mailing address. Respond to every notice immediately. File renewals early. Prepare documents in advance. Get legal advice if your case has complications. The people seeing approvals right now are not lucky, they're ready. This Christmas update is not a promise. It's an opportunity. And for many families, it has already changed everything. At American Visa Update, we don't sell fear and we don't sell fantasy. We give you reality, even when it's uncomfortable. And the reality right now is this. USCIS is processing cases faster than it has in years, and immigrants are seeing real wins. If you know someone waiting on a visa, a green card, or a work permit, share this video with them. Information changes outcomes. Timing changes lives. As we move into 2026, immigration policy will continue to evolve. There will be new challenges and new fights. But for now, during this Christmas season, momentum has shifted and immigrants are finally feeling it. This has been American Visa Update. Stay informed, stay ready, and we'll continue bringing you the updates that matter most. What many people don't realize is that USCIS does not operate in isolation. Every decision, every acceleration, every slowdown is connected to political pressure, funding realities, lawsuits, staffing shortages, and internal performance metrics that most applicants never see. When approvals suddenly increase around the holidays, it's not generosity, it's strategy. USCIS entered the final quarter of the year under intense scrutiny. Congressional committees demanded explanations for historic backlogs. Employers complained about lost productivity due to delayed work permits. Immigration attorneys flooded the system with mandamus lawsuits. Advocacy groups amplified stories of families separated for years. All of that created an environment where inaction was no longer sustainable. They targeted low-risk, high-volume cases that could be approved quickly. They reused biometrics instead of scheduling new appointments. They waived interviews where legally permissible. They issued approvals in batches rather than one by one. They cleared older cases first to reduce average processing times on paper. This matters because when USCIS improves its statistics, it buys itself political breathing room. And when that happens, immigrants benefit, at least temporarily. Adjustment of status cases that were stuck at case was received for over a year are suddenly jumping to approval. Applicants are receiving green cards without interviews. Families who prepared documents years ago are finally seeing closure. Fast processing rewards people who are compliant and punishes those who are careless. When officers move quickly, they rely heavily on what's already in the file. If your application contains inconsistencies, missing documents, or outdated information, it's more likely to be denied without the opportunity to correct it. Speed reduces second chances. That's why this Christmas win is not just good news, it's a warning. If your paperwork isn't solid, now is the time to fix it. Another major shift happening quietly involves background checks. For years, background checks were one of the biggest bottlenecks in immigration processing. Files sat idle waiting for security clearances from multiple agencies. That backlog exploded after 2020 and never fully recovered. Instead of holding entire cases hostage to delayed background checks, USCIS has adjusted workflows to process other elements of the case in parallel. That means by the time background checks are completed, the rest of the case is already reviewed and ready to approve. This is why some people are seeing approvals shortly after biometrics reuse notices or background clearance updates. The work was already done. The system was just waiting for the last box to be checked. The holiday timing also matters more than people think. December approvals are strategic. USCIS wants to close cases before year-end to clean up reporting metrics. They want to start the new year with fewer backlogs on record. They want to show progress before budget negotiations and oversight hearings. That's why Christmas approvals are not an accident. They're calculated. And if you miss this wave, that doesn't mean you're out of luck. Immediate relatives of U.S. citizens are seeing the biggest gains. Spouses, parents, and unmarried children under 21 are moving faster than other categories because these cases are not subject to annual visa caps. USCIS can approve them as quickly as officers can process them. Employment-based applicants with clean histories and strong employer documentation are also benefiting. When cases are clearly approvable, officers are moving them instead of letting them sit. That's why American Visa Update exists, to cut through hype and give you the full picture. Another area seeing quiet improvement is customer service, believe it or not. Call centers are answering faster. Tier 2 callbacks are happening more reliably. Online inquiries are being resolved more efficiently. This doesn't mean USCIS suddenly became friendly. It means pressure forced improvement. But again, speed cuts both ways. If you receive a notice of intent to deny right now, you may have less time than you expect to respond. Deadlines are being enforced strictly. Officers are not holding files open indefinitely. That's why you should never ignore USCIS mail, even during the holidays. Now let's address the emotional side of this moment, because immigration is not just legal, it's deeply personal. For many families, this Christmas approval meant reunification. Parents reunited with children. Spouses reunited after years of separation. People who lived in fear finally slept peacefully. That matters. But it also creates survivor bias. People who receive approvals post online celebrating, while those still waiting feel forgotten. That emotional contrast can be brutal. If you're still waiting, your case is not doomed. But you must stay engaged. The worst thing you can do right now is disconnect. Immigration systems punish silence. And here's something very few channels talk about: the political clock. As we move deeper into 2026, immigration will once again become a dominant political issue. Court challenges will continue. Executive policies may shift. Congressional negotiations could stall. Elections will influence enforcement priorities. What USCIS is doing right now is stabilizing the system before turbulence returns. If your work permit expires in 6 months, file now. If your green card expires next year, prepare now. If your address changed, update now. If your case has complications, consult now. That's what we aim to provide here at American Visa Update. As this Christmas season ends and the new year progresses, expect mixed signals. Some months will bring good news. Others will bring delays. What remains constant is this: informed applicants fare better. The system rewards those who engage with it intentionally. So if you take one thing from this extended update, let it be this: momentum is temporary. Preparation is permanent. We'll continue monitoring approvals, policy shifts, court cases, and agency behavior. We'll continue breaking down what matters and ignoring what doesn't. Because immigration isn't just about forms. It's about lives, families, futures. And in a system that changes constantly, clarity is power. This has been American Visa Update. Stay connected, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next update.